What's happening, everybody? It's your boy Sincere, one half of the JaySin podcast. Tonight, Jay is not with me. We have a special edition of the show this evening. Before we get into everything, first and foremost, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank y'all for coming in. We have a cool guest. Our guest tonight. Uh, Looking forward to talking to this brother. I'm looking forward to him telling his story. It is one of the most incredible things I have ever had, the privilege of listening to. The gentleman's name is Isaiah. So everybody, let's welcome Isaiah into the building. Let's thank him for being here with us. So let's do that. And how are you feeling, sir? How are you?
I'm feeling good, sir. Yeah, I woke up, see another beautiful day. That's always a blessing.
Did you finish all your Christmas stuff yet?
No, sir. No, sir. I procrastinate on stuff like that. I procrastinate. I'm gonna probably be out December 23rd doing all my Christmas shopping.
You is not the only one, and I will not judge you because I can't judge you.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact I will probably be somewhere close to doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself. How old you are, where you're from. Tell the people a little bit about you, about yourself.
So I'm 23. I was born in California, raised in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas. I just came up, had a fairly normal middle class family, and I've just been coasting through life. I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran and stuff
Air
like that.
Force,
So,
nice.
you said what?
Air Force vet, nice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How long did you serve?
I served for 1 year. Got out early, gladly. They are very racist in the Air Force. Openly racist.
Oh, I believe it. You did one more year than me, good sir.
Oh yeah, man.
You did one more year than I could have ever made it in the military. And shout out to the military because I come from a military family. Both my parents and grandparents are military people, Army, but still military. And I got an uncle who was a Marine, but you can't.
Oh yeah, man. I couldn't join the Marines. I like being alive too much. You get what I'm saying? It was I was measuring the 5 branches of which one I wanted to join. And by the way, the Space Force is an official branch of the military. So well, I've seen online that you got you're 20 times more likely to die while in the Marines than in the Air Force. So I was like, all right, guess what I'm joining.
Let me go and get this Air Force money.
Oh yeah. See, I get the Air Force. They have the best living conditions. But while having the best living conditions, I hear that they are also the most racist branch as well. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, and it's crazy because race has a lot to do with our topic today.
Yes, sir. Yes,
sir. We won't jump straight into everything. I'm gonna, you gotta warm up. You gotta warm up the pot a little bit. You don't want to jump straight into things, but I would like to kind of, for the people who are here wondering what the special surprise is, what brought us out this evening. What would you consider yourself?
Consider myself how? Like, what do you mean?
What is the terminology that when me and you first met that you use?
Oh, okay. A reformed coon.
And please explain what that is just a little bit.
So basically a reformed coon, which is very rare. My case was a miracle. I was very far gone. I even look back today. If I was sitting in a lot of people's seat and I was saying the things that I was saying, and someone else was saying the things that they were saying to me, I likely wouldn't believe it because I do have such an unbelievable story. So I was just growing up in a fatherless household, didn't have a lot of guidance growing up, had a very dysfunctional family, and I eventually got put into a neighborhood. I was around a lot of the white children. Um, I wasn't the average black kid growing up. You get what I'm saying? So I was into a lot of things that a lot of black people aren't into. Like back in those days, black children weren't. A lot of black kids in my area, I won't speak for everyone. A lot of black kids in my area, they weren't like into anime and so stuff like that. So nowadays every black person watches it almost. But back in those days, if you watched that, you were considered like the weird kid. So I was kind of, when I was a kid, I felt like I'd been outcasted by my own people. And, I started to hang around the white children and I began to develop their mannerisms, their thought processes, and how they behaved and their political views. And I didn't really set into it fully until I would say Obama's halfway through, or I would say about a year into Obama's second term as president. That's when I was way off the deep end. I was completely in the sunken place, way worse than Kanye West, and Kanye West, he has a lot of mental issues. So, he gets sort of a pass because he does have a lot of mental issues. But, I don't have any mental issues like that. I made the conscious decision to be a coon, and I was a very bad one. So, you know, it got to the point where I was sexually attracted. I had like a sexual infatuation with being subjugated. Like I remember when we were in that Twitter space, I was talking about how I used to watch. I would go on porn sites and I would watch slave cosplay videos, and I would get off to it, and it was very bad.
Yeah, I remember you said that was one of the things that stuck with me. Was I remember one of the things we said was something about one of the scenes from, I think, 13 Years a Slave.
It was Django.
Django, yeah.
Yeah, the scenes from Django. There was a scene towards the end of the movie where Django was about to get neutered. They were about to cut his nuts off. And is this a clean
No,
podcast?
no, no, no. You curse all the fuck you want, do all
Okay,
that.
I feel that. So there was a scene at the end, and uh, towards the end, and a white man was Django was hung upside down, and a white man comes in and holds a hot knife to his nuts. He's like, "Say goodnight to them nuts, nigga." He does that, and I would watch that scene for entertainment. Like that would I wasn't sexually attracted to that scene, but it would get me off mentally in my head. Like I would just get off inside watching that scene. Um, and I'd laugh about it with my racist white friends. And I was hanging around, like I was hanging out with full blown white supremacists. I was letting my white friends call me all sorts of niggas and niggers and negroes, and um, I was as sick as you could get. I was very sick in the head. That's the only way I could describe it. There was something wrong with me. You know, and then it was also I kind of like being a provocateur, and I sort of still do like being a provocateur. It's just I put a different energy into that provocativism now. Um, but I like to say things that offended people sometimes, and you know and I use that as a weapon against my own people. So it was I was in a very bad space. Like I would like I said in the podcast, or in the Twitter space, I don't know if you were there
Right.
at the time, but I basically said I was a alt-right conservative white man trapped in a black man's body. And
I remember.
yeah,
Um, and but before, let's take a step backwards. I want to take a step backwards because nobody wakes up and it's just nobody wakes up that way.
yeah,
Like you didn't just wake up one day and decide like this is what I want. We all go through life and have a multitude of decisions that we make that make us the people who we are. Um,
yeah,
so coming up, we're I understand you say you had a tumultuous childhood.
Yeah,
Where I'm gonna assume I'm just gonna jump out there with the anime kids and so on and so forth that you were probably bullied at some point.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Um, did you find comfort in the white people because you found comfort in in how they saw you, or do you think the comfort just came from not being bullied in general?
So, so I was in a subsection. I was hanging out with like a subsection of white people. Um, so I was also bullied by white people, but the group that I was in, like the anime kids, uh, I skateboarded growing up. I listened to rock music growing up. And that was just a nowadays there's a lot of black people that listen to rock music and skateboard and watch anime and all that. But back then that was something that typically white children did. So even though I was bullied by white people, black people, Hispanics, Asians, everybody, I was bullied universally. But the specific group that I was in was a majority white group. So that's who I began to sort of identify with.
Okay, and that's who you gravitated to.
Yes.
And what age was this? Would you say? How old were you
So
at this point?
I gravitated towards I've been gravitating towards white children. Basically, I'd say I was think probably the fourth or fifth grade. That's when I found myself kind of straying away from hanging out with black people.
Okay.
And
Now,
I wouldn't say I didn't hang out with black people. I was never against the thought of hanging out with black people. Um, it was just that I felt like white people accepted me more.
okay. Now, as that time comes, now as that time and those relationships and that bond grows a little bit, that happens with time. You spend time with people, you grow to get to know them. This is your safe space. This is where you are. That would only make sense that that's what happens with this group of white people you are around.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you this question. Were the white people that you were hanging around initially that were your safe space? Were these the same people? Were these the same white people that in the future ended up radicalizing you?
No, no.
Okay.
So I would say the person who initially radicalized me into the Coonism was actually a black man. I don't know if you've heard of him,
Really?
but when I was 14 years old, that's when I really started going and just jumped off the cliff right into the deep end. When I was 14 years old, I started watching a man on YouTube named Tommy Sotomayor. Have you heard of
Okay.
him?
I have not.
Okay, yeah, he's had talks a lot about black women and all their issues, and uh, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that's it's um, looking back, I don't really watch him so much anymore. Looking back, I don't agree with a lot of things he says about black people or black women, but the big issue is I could have taken it wrong. I don't want to completely credit him. I do think he is a coon, but I don't want to completely credit him with turning me into one because as a 14-year-old, I probably wouldn't have completely understood what he was saying because I was still immature in my head. So, I was taking the things that he was saying, and then I started venturing off into listening to white people, and then I started I would say I crossed into the alt right conservatism. I started crossing into that when I was about 16.
Okay.
Um, and I just started going deeper and deeper and deeper, and then 17, 18, I'm going deeper and deeper, and then I would say around
Are you still living at home at this point?
no, no, I've lived on my own for a while, or are you talking about when I was 18, 19?
No, no, yeah, but how old were you? Because what I'm curious of is 14-year-old you jumps off the deep end, and you're
Yeah,
still living at home.
yes, yes.
That could
um
that could not have been received well.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. My mother, she was very hurt. I made her cry a bit by my statements about black people and black women. I definitely have made her cry before. Um, my father figure at the time, he could not stand it. He tried to prevent me. He did, but it was, I lived in such a the biggest factor that played a role was my toxic family. My family was very toxic. I actually learned recently that or I have my family just has a undying hatred for each other. My family can't get along, and I learned recently that that's been happening since my great grandmother's generation, not just one great, two greats, great grandmother's generation. So I come from a family where it has been a toxic civil war amongst each other for over 100 years, counting
Okay.
and counting, 100 years and
Yeah.
counting. So it's just uh, a a hateful family. Everybody's at each other's throats. I've seen my family get into full blown fist fights on the side of the road. I've seen family members damn near try to kill each other. Um, and I've seen a lot of my family, acting the typical ghetto behavior. Just acting, and yeah, a lot of my family, they do portray ghetto behavior, and you know, and I looked at that and I took it the wrong way. I was like, okay, my family acts like this, and 70% of school teachers are white women, right? So when you come from this toxic family where all the black women in your family are screaming, hollering, cussing, fighting, throwing hands, acting in a masculine manner, and you go to school and the first person you seen really show you some kindness was your white teacher. Your white teacher. So that's you start to see, okay, I took it wrong because again I was a kid. Well, I took it as, well, there must be something wrong with black people,
Okay.
since my family and the people I hang around and the black children I was hanging around a lot of time, a lot of them were the stereotypical sagging the pants, fighting all the time. And I took that, well, there must be something wrong with black people. And it took me a very long time, over 20 years of living, to understand, no, it's not something wrong with black people. We're simply reacting to conditions that we were placed in.
Okay. And I do know it's. I know we're jumping around the story a bit, and I'm doing this intentionally because it's there's so much to cover. Like
There is.
there's so much to cover, and I I don't think anybody truly knows. You are now damn near the exact opposite.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
are super duper black man. If it's not black people and only black people, I ain't fucking with it.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
what
I'm not interested in being the political lackey for everybody else to get what we do, the heavy lifting. Everybody else reaps the benefits and we get nothing. Absolutely not.
so at some point we will get to that moment that switched from where you were
Yeah.
to where you are. We will get there, but we haven't gotten there yet. I need to go back a little bit. Now
Go
we're going
ahead.
to go back to 17, 16, 17-year-old you. At this point, you're out of your home.
No, I'm still in my home.
You're still in
Still
your
in my
home?
home. Yeah.
At what age did we make it out of the home?
I made it out of my home. I was 21 years old. I finally moved out. That's when I went to the Air Force.
Okay. So most of this happens while you're still living at home.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So the my question would be, and maybe this is maybe I'm thinking of this wrong, but as a black man, I'm thinking when you start to become radicalized and you start to feel the way you feel, um, who do you turn to like how do you find a group to in fact become the coon for? Because and the reason I asked that is because remember I asked you if it was the initial group that radicalized you. You know what
Well,
I
they
mean?
were children, so
Well, yeah,
yeah,
that's why I wanted to make sure it wasn't them because then I could understand like you kind of grew up together and that kind of happened, but that's not what
yeah.
happened. It
No,
kind
I
of
kind of
and
moved around a lot, so
right and that age, it's not like we're even grown either. We're still adolescent. So I'm guessing, where did you find that group to fit in to then become who you were at that moment?
So and this is one of the reasons my cooning, and it's still related. It's still related. So my cooning is the reason I'm so radical now, because I understand white people at a deeper level than a lot of black people don't understand. I felt like I always felt like a black man. I never considered myself a non-black man. I just considered myself sort of like a supreme black, like I'm better than the rest of these niggas. So
Okay. So
um,
almost in like a Uncle Ruckus kind of
yes,
form.
yes.
Copy.
And that's funny. I would watch Uncle Ruck when I was a coon. I would watch Uncle Ruckus videos all the time. All the time.
Don't trust them no niggas over
All the
there.
time. Oh yes. That was like to me that was intellectual masturbation to watch that.
Darkies.
Um so
That's
I kind of got off track. What was the topic again?
we're talking about you felt
Oh
that
yeah,
you were
yeah, yeah. I got
the
you. I
supreme
got you.
black man.
So that's part of the reason. Being able to find that group is part of the reason I'm so radical now, because of how easy it was to find these groups. That's why under these people, like, we think that we're on some new age, where all these white people support equality and they love us, and it's just the minority of white people. Absolutely not. How extremely easy it was to find a white person to do race play with me. That's it.
What
It's shocking now to even
what
think about it.
what do you mean race play?
Race
Please.
play, like, where I would actually have sex with women, with white women, and I would allow them to call me nigger, and act out their racist fantasies. You get what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Okay, so pause there, because
Go ahead.
we're not just gonna jump over that. We're not just gonna jump over the racist white women fantasies.
Yeah.
What I need intel. What are some of the racist white women fantasies that you've had to play out?
I wouldn't say had to. This is something I was
Okay,
choosing to
once
do.
again,
Yeah, I was
once again,
choosing to do this.
and
Um,
please, brother Isaiah, and this is one of the
yeah,
reasons
your mic's making a weird noise.
Isaiah, this is one of the reasons I appreciate
You
you.
sound like a robot right now.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but your audio's messed up.
Okay. Tell us about the white women's.
The white women. Okay. So basically, you know, I began seeking out white women. I was as I started growing up, I went straight off the deep end. All those black bitches, those ghetto black bitches, y'all don't want nothing to do with them. Um, I started seeking out these white women, and after this point, I started watching these slavery cosplay videos on the internet. Um, and I started trying to enact it in person. So my first encounter, I actually initiated it. I wanted it to happen. This is not something that she even initiated it, and uh, the fact that it was so easy to get her to do that, like, I didn't even have to argue. Like, she did do it, and it was pretty easy to find these white women. Like, they would call me nigger, and they'd like, oh, give me your nigger cock, and you're a nigger, and a darky, and jigaboo, and yes, you a monkey. And I didn't get into the physical part of it, but it was very verbal. I like to be verbally degraded in such a way when I had sex. um and it was like I just straight up have to say I was a sick man. There was something wrong with me. I
Okay.
had been completely I had been completely mentally subjugated. So I was off the physical plantation, but I was on the mental plantation, and I was gladly there. I wanted to be there.
And were you still dating black women at this time?
So I was never against the idea of dating black women, but it was it was certain type of black women I would date. Um, I didn't like the stereotypical ghetto black woman. I would still date a black woman. And since I was such a huge coon, whenever I dated black women, we usually just wouldn't talk about anything political. We'd just leave that out completely and just work our lives around that. A lot of my girlfriends, my black girlfriends growing up, they just wouldn't even follow me on social media. They didn't want to see it. Um, so yeah, so I was
So
never. Go ahead.
what did your social media look like at this time?
My social media at the time was just imagine a an alt right white man social media account. That was me. That was me. Um, but it's funny. It's funny because I don't know if you believe in spirituality, but
I do.
throughout my cooning, there was always that voice in my head, the spirituality that it was like a spiritual tug of war. Like I was not a I wouldn't call myself a Trump supporter, but I was pretty much a Trump supporter in denial. So I would support everything he did. I was literally everything he did, I would support it. But there was something in my head, something was keeping me from actually calling myself a Trump supporter. Like I would support people wearing the MAGA hat, like, yeah, man, wear your hat. But something inside me prevented me from actually putting that hat on my head myself. So I supported Trump in everything he did, but I just would not verbally say I'm a Trump supporter. I would openly defend him, but just those words, yeah, I'm a Trump supporter, I was never able to actually get that out of my mouth. So something spiritual was keeping me from doing that.
I completely I completely understand that. So let's go ahead and we get to a point of where I know a young man for me when I'm partying. I did a lot of partying. You hear me say? I did a
Yeah,
lot of
I
partying in
understand. I
my day.
understand.
I did a lot of partying in my day. Um, what was your social life like at this point in life? Like what were you going out to enjoy yourself during this time in your life? What were you going out to what
What
did
was
a
I
night on
going
the
out to
town
do?
look like? Right.
My
What did the time on
childhood.
the
So skateboarding. Oh man, I would skateboard for hours, hours and hours. I was religious with it. I would wake up 9 in the morning. I'm outside at 10 a.m. sharp, skateboarding till the sun goes down, coming in to eat and use the restroom and going right back out. Me and my friends were skateboarding. Um, so yeah, that's what I did socially. And again, at the time, most of the skateboarders were white. Like nowadays, nowadays, skateboarding is more of a racially ambiguous thing. Everybody does it now, but back then that was really a white thing. So
right.
even just getting into skateboarding, that brought me towards the white crowd as well.
Right. Okay. And I feel like when I tried skateboarding, by the way.
Yeah.
I tried it. I tried it a couple times. I was not good at it. I was
Oh, I
not good
got
at it
very
at
good
all.
at it.
I was not good at it at
I
all.
got very good at it, man. The amount of
Just now.
injuries I've sustained, man. I've busted my head open a few times. I've completely I think it was the wrong arm. Yeah, that was the right arm. Right here, man. My elbow skin was taken completely off. Like I degloved my elbow. Like it was.
Mm,
Yeah, I was busted my knee a couple times. Got a few concussions.
mm.
I thought I've broken bones about a million times. So yeah, man, I
Yeah,
was
now
out there.
you're a little tougher than I was when it came to that type of shit. But
Oh
it's
yeah, man.
crazy how far we've come because my nephew, um, he's a little mixed baby. And if
Yeah,
you look at him, he's been skateboarding since he could walk.
yeah.
He doesn't know it, and I know he's not listening to this. But for Christmas, he got a new skateboard and he got a new skate. We got a new headset, a new helmet,
Helmet.
and knee pads and elbow. He has a whole new color set and a new skateboard coming for Christmas. That's
Okay.
one of his gifts. So to me, it's I'm listening to you, and I know it wasn't that long ago. And I remember myself coming up, being one of the kids that was very eclectic and just finding my way in a different route than you did. But I remember being around a lot of one of my homeboys is a skateboarder. Shout out to my homeboy Jeff. Um, I remember coming up. I came up under when CKY was blowing up. Shout out to Bam. Um, and Jackass was taking off, and Tony Hawk and the video game, like during that era. So for me, skateboarding when it was blowing up, it's definitely started as a white thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it grew into something bigger, but it wasn't probably, like you said, probably until like it's still like pretty white. Like
Yeah,
we
I would
gotta
say
we gotta
the 2010s is when it really started to pop off amongst black people and everyone else. Like, man,
and
I've seen skate parks in Jamaica, so
yeah,
it's
exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
it's more of
But
a racially ambiguous thing now.
right, right. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. I have a question. How do you consume media during that time frame? And what I mean by consume media, um, this conversation would be different with 18-year-old, with 18, 19-year-old you. This
Yeah.
conversation would be completely different. How were you consuming media as far as what were you watching? That's not the YouTube gentleman we spoke of. I wanted to know kind of what were the movies, what was the music you were listening to, what was it like completely, being starting to be engulfed with what was going on.
So the music I was listening to, I did like rock music growing up. My favorite genre is hip hop, and it's really always been. I was listening to hip hop. My one of the first ever records I remember was I was a kid, man. I think I was a toddler still. I don't even think I was in school, man. I remember listening to "In the Club" by 50 Cent. Yeah, when I was a kid, man, I was barely walking, listening to that song. I can remember it.
Shout
That
out
was
to 50, man.
Yeah, that was my first favorite rap song. So 50 Cent was my first favorite rapper, and then after that, it was Lil Wayne. After I heard Lollipop, he became my favorite rapper for a while. And then my mom had actually played Eminem. I was in a car. She was like, "Hey, listen to this CD I got." It was right around the time that his Relapse album came out.
Yeah.
And once I heard, man, she played that song 3 a.m. Man, that song right there, that still to this day, he's still my favorite rapper. When I heard that song, is you're walking down the horror corridor. It's almost 4 in the morning, and you're in a nightmare. It's horrible, right there in the corner. Yeah, man. Yeah, I heard him. I was like, yeah, this man's going. He's going in.
Yeah, M is something different, dog. M is
Oh
something
yeah,
different.
oh yeah, man. That right there, Eminem, the song 3 a.m. That's the song that made him my favorite rapper. Um, but yeah, I always listen to rap, and a lot of people. Funny thing, a lot of people think my favorite rapper was white because I was Coon at the time, but funny enough, it was actually unrelated. I kind of just liked him because he was going in, he was just raw. Um, then I was also listening to rock music, just regular light rock. When I got into high school, I started listening to heavy metal. Um, and then, which is also funny because when I was listening to heavy metal, when I started listening to it, it was a white thing. Nowadays, a lot of black people are listening to heavy metal rock too. Funny enough.
Mhm.
Um, then my favorite movie growing up, I always liked Boys in the Hood.
Okay.
Yeah,
Boy,
I always liked
you
that movie.
you confusing the shit out of me, boy.
I know. I always
Confusing the
liked that
shit
movie.
out of me.
I always liked that movie, Boys in the Hood. Also, what's another one? Tales from the Hood. I like that
Ricky!
one too.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I know it sounds confusing. Like I said, it sounds like a very unbelievable story. It does.
And it's to me, I there's nothing unbelievable
Hmm.
because there's nothing on the face of this planet that I find unbelievable for
Yeah.
real. Because we all it takes is one decision to alter a life full of things. So Cuddy, you missed it. Go back and replay from the beginning. You'll definitely understand more. Okay, so you are dealing with a lot of white supremacy groups,
Yes.
but
Yes.
dealing with them on the inside.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What
Just
what
the
what is
alt
it?
right conservatives. I was on the inside, man. I was spending the night at these kids' houses. You get what I'm saying?
What happens there? I'm curious. Okay? First off, I just assume this is gonna sound crazy. I assume that these little alt-right white kids, they probably touches up the penises a lot. I just assume that goes down a lot because they always like the dicks on the faces jokes and the balls. Like the little white boys, they be obsessed with the dick and the balls. I just assume that there's a lot of strange things that happen at these
Yes,
football
yes. They
facilities.
So I would say that definitely seeing white people from a different light. Uh, there is kind of like there is like a homoerotic level to them. They have like a very homoerotic culture. Um, I've seen the white kids tell a lot of gay jokes,
Yeah,
and it's yeah, they're very homoerotic. The shit that they do in the locker rooms.
yeah,
After I was a wrestler too, and after wrestling, the shit they'll do in the locker rooms. Snatching towels. Doing a helicopter with the dicks, stuff like that, laughing it out.
yeah. Nah, there's no need for you to ever spin your dick around me. There's no
Yeah,
need for
yeah.
look. If it's dick spinning around me, it better be my dick. Ain't no need for extra dicks to be spinning
Yeah.
around his head.
Yeah, I
Mm-mm.
grew up in a pretty racist area though. Like I believe it was I forgot how many years, but it was either one or two or a few years before I went to my first high school. The school flag had actually been the Confederate flag, so they had just recently changed it from the Confederate flag when I got there, and the school mascot is still called the Rebel, which is somewhat synonymous with Confederate.
Yep, very much so. Very, very much so.
Yeah,
Okay, so we now know you at 17, 18-year-old you. We know the white women's. We know what you're doing with the white women's. We know we didn't get to the white supremacists. What are they doing at these parties? What are you seeing? What are they doing? What is it like to be inside of one of these organizations?
I wouldn't say I was in an organization, but I was around the people. You get what I'm
Right,
saying?
right. What what
So
what what, what was it like around these people?
they they sit around talking shit about black people. I mean, they just sit around and these people really think that they're above us. Like they think that we're inferior to them. Everything that they do, they feel like it's justified. And this is what a lot of black people got to understand. These people would have us back on the plantation at the drop of a dime. There is no racial coalition between white people, black people. It doesn't exist. Now there are individuals who might support us and be down for the cause, but there's no white subgroup, there's no white group that really supports us. These people would have us back in chains at the drop of a dime. Uh, they sit around, they just do what white supremacists do. They talk shit about black people and everything in between. They make racist jokes. They were calling me nigger and all this other stuff. Um, yeah, it
Did
was
they
it
did
was
they try to did they try to touch your hair?
absolutely 100%, absolutely,
Did you let them? Didn't you?
absolutely 100%.
Okay.
I was like, oh yeah, you want to feel my hair? No, go ahead. Have a group of 5 white men feeling my hair,
Okay.
sitting in the middle of them like an animal, like a animal in the petting zoo.
Okay. Um. So at some point, I know that we go into the Air Force.
Yeah,
We've been living this coon life for a while. We've gone through the women. We've gone through the radicalization. We've gone through these things. But before we go off to the Air Force, um, at this point you're 21.
hold on, I can't hear you. Your audio's cutting out.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
So you're 20, 21 years old.
Yes, sir.
You're leaving home to join the military. What is your relationship with your mother?
At this point, me and my relationship with my mom was it was in a lot better place. It was a lot better place at this point. My mom had pretty much she had acknowledged her wrongs, and she had apologized for a lot of the stuff that I shouldn't have gone through, but had to go through as a child. You know, she had apologized that I was subjected to the behavior of my family growing up. Children shouldn't see that. You shouldn't see your family trying to kill each other. That she apologized for putting me in that position. She apologized for having me growing up not knowing my biological father. All I know is his name. I don't even know what he looks like. I couldn't tell you how tall he was, what he sounds like, nothing. And she apologized for all of her mistakes, and it was just coming to an understanding. It was a lot of hurt growing up, but at some point I had to realize that she was just doing what she knew. That's how she was raised. That's how her mother was raised. That's how her mother's mother was raised, and I'm sure that's how her mother's mother's mother was raised. She was doing what she knew, and
Right.
she's acknowledged it
Right.
since.
Okay. So you're leaving and you're on good terms with Mom Deuce. That's
Yeah,
that's that's good. That's good. We get in the military. We are in a openly racist branch of the military.
open
You're
racist.
and you are a black man who is cooning
No,
how
no, no. By the time I went to the Air Force, I'd been completely reformed.
you were done by the time the Air
No,
Force
I
happened.
was I was already on the radical end of pro blackness by the time I went to the Air Force.
Okay, so let's take a step backwards then. Let's take a step backwards then, because I remember two things that were said uh, that I wanted to touch on in our conversation.
Yeah,
I know one was the moment. I don't remember what it was. I think there was a scene. I remember it was in 13. The reason I wanted to touch on this is because it it signified to me how gone you were.
yeah,
Because where you are now to me is is completely opposite. And I don't think people can fully understand the the 180 you've turned until you can understand how deep you were gone.
yeah.
I remember during the conversation we had, there was another incident. I remember talking about Django, but I think there was another instance where we spoke about when you it was I think it was the scene in 13 years a slave when she was asking for a bucket of water.
She was asking for soap.
Yes.
She told the master it was I forgot what her name was. She had said that I think she said that she had picked 500 pounds of cotton a day, and the slave master's wife was jealous of the slave because um the slave master was sexually attracted to her. So the slave master's wife was torturing this woman, and she didn't allow her to bathe or really do anything. So she was stink. And then she had made a comment how she had went to another plantation to get a bar of soap, and the slave master confronted her about it and was like, oh yeah, he confronted her about it. She was all like, I pick 500 pounds of cotton day in and day out, and I stink so bad I make myself gag, and y'all won't even give me a bar of soap. That was intellectual masturbation to me. I would get off mentally watching that.
What was it, do you think, in that because that to me that is so just even in that statement that is such a I can't fathom that being my mindset. I can't fathom that being my mindset, which is why I have to ask you, how is it that you found your way out of here? What is it from that got you from that point where you were so done with us, so gone, to where you are now? What happened? What flipped? What switch got hit? What happened that made Isaiah go, this is enough?
So a lot of things. It's a couple of it's like a roots, tree roots. There's different roots going in the different directions, but they all feed the same tree. So it was a lot of things that ended up leading to me being reformed. So number one, just growing up, becoming more mature, and and then number two was education. All these statistics that these white supremacists use to justify killing black people, and how they talk about how they use statistics to tell us how violent we are. Once I did the research and I listened to people, I would listen to debates. I would listen to a lot of debates between like conservative white men and or conservative white people, and between pro black people. And eventually I ran across two black men in particular, Tariq Nasheed and Philip Scott from African Diaspora News. Uh, Once they started, it was really them two in particular that really started waking me up off this train. Once they started pointing out these, they would go in, man. They would just pick apart these statistics and show why these statistics are misleading, why they're invalid. And a lot of them were just flat out wrong. A lot of these statistics were misrepresented and fabricated. Once I started learning these statistics are bullshit. That also was learning history. You know, I grew up thinking that black people were useless before the white people came and colonized us. We were just sitting over there picking flies off of each other or something. Once I started learning, no, we were handling business before we were colonized. We weren't just sitting around in the sun. We were handling business. The African Moors, they had colonized Spain for I think over 700 years. It was nearly 1,000 years, I believe. They conquered Spain. We built a lot of these pyramids, and funny enough, one thing I eventually realized is whenever white people did not build something, that's when the conspiracy theorists come out saying it was aliens. They start saying the aliens built the pyramids and all that.
Yeah.
They only do that with stuff that non-white people do. When it's something white people do, that, oh man, Hippocrates, he was a genius. Look at that sculpture, man. They got us thinking that these sculptures be 10,000 years old and they had no erosion. These stone sculptures are in perfect condition after 10,000 years old. Absolutely not. That's some bullshit. So, it was learning history. And one of the biggest things that played a factor was a black woman I fell in love with. And this is also a funny story because I was simping hard for this woman. It was not reciprocated.
Okay.
I was simping hard. But she didn't return the love that I wanted, but she had still given me some sort of love in a way. You get what I'm saying? She was a black woman, and she really just she helped me heal. You get what I'm saying? She helped me heal from the childhood trauma. She would just listen to me talk, and she would sympathize with me as best as she could. And even though she didn't reciprocate love, she helped me heal, and for that I'm very grateful to her. So it was really just finding a black woman that really showed me the light. Like, no, black women aren't like this. You're looking at us wrong. There's plenty of level-headed black women out here. You can go find them. Like, so yeah. And then that was also a factor too. Like, it's not that all black people were ghetto. It's just that's the only ones I was noticing.
Okay.
So
she opened. She had your nose open a little bit.
absolutely.
Man, a good woman to do that.
Yeah.
Good woman to do that. Hey, some of that good gets you right. Get you right with the word.
We almost got there one time. Almost. Man, look, I almost made it out the friend zone once, but the
Are you still friends with this young lady?
You said what?
You still friends with this young lady?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
So we're not gonna go down that road too much because I know you're still friends with her. So
we on a different light. We on a different light. She eventually told me that the reason she wouldn't give it a chance because I was for the streets. I was weird.
So you was a whore. So you was a whore.
Yeah, just about. Yeah, that's the main reason.
Ain't no just about, nigga. You's a whore. It's okay.
Yeah.
it's okay.
That's one thing.
Out of all the things we done said tonight, you being a whore is, I think, the least traumatizing to the people in here.
Yeah, man. I found a lot of white women to have sex with back in the day. Let's just say that.
You remember Blazing Saddles? Where the white women at?
And some of them might have been fat, but I still made it happen. I still made it
Bro,
happen.
how do you now we gonna take a pause on that. You was taking down the big joints.
Man, stereotypical coon, man. I was with
The big
some of these
joint.
white women I was having sex with were humongous, man.
The
Had to
big
turn, they would have
joints,
to turn
bro.
sideways to fit through my door over there, man. There,
And you
yeah,
was
man.
hitting it. Oh, bro.
I was hitting it, man.
You was lost in the sauce, bro.
That extra large jar of sauce.
Oh, bro,
The
that's
one you get
crazy.
from Costco. You know
But
what
you
I'm
know what's
saying?
worse than that? You was probably enjoying it too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
My nigga, welcome home, bro. This shit crazy.
Yeah.
This shit crazy.
It
So now that you have become the Isaiah that I know, who is once again super radicalized, super black, everything like don't bring the whiteness on this side. White is never right. I understand how that is your mindset now. I understand how that is what that is. Knowing your story makes knowing how you feel now a lot more feasible. Because you can see what you're seeing. You're coming from a different walk of existence than most of us have ever walked. So when we saying fuck white people, we're saying fuck white people and we mean it. But you saying fuck white people, and you saying it from a different space.
absolutely,
When
man.
I'm saying don't trust white people, I mean it. When you say don't trust white people, you saying it from a different space. And so it's understandable why you are how you are. I do have a question. I have another question. We
Before
talked.
you ask that one, I want to
Yes.
finish the last one you asked. I hadn't finished what tipped me over.
Oh yes, please continue.
So I will say the final straw, and it's gonna sound dumb, man. It's gonna sound dumb. This right here, because I've told this story to a few people. This right here, the final straw that broke the camel's back was Luke Cage season 2 on Netflix. That came out June 22nd, 2018. When I finished that season, that was when I finally decided, man, I don't want to do this no more. So it was really what really happened was I started watching Luke Cage season 2, which was a great season, by the way. And there was a lot of Jamaicans in that season.
Mm-hmm.
And in the season, there was a guest star by the name of Stephen Marley. He's Bob Marley's second oldest son. He was a guest star in this show, and I heard his singing voice, and it was an absolutely majestic voice. His voice is beautiful. I looked him up, and I started listening to reggae music, and they the reggae music it's a bit different than the rap we live here because or the rap we listen to here, because here rap is controlled by white people. These white corporate executives control rap. So we listen to what they want us to listen to. Our music is violent because they want it to be violent. I was listening to this reggae, and they're talking about Africa and the black woman and the black man, and I'm listening to it because this shit sound nice. I'm not even thinking of it on no woke shit. I'm listening to this shit because this shit go hard. But then after listening to it for a while, and something started to click. I'm like, man, that music, reggae music, actually, that's what really made me develop a love for my people, reggae music. And after I listened to that, I grew my dreads. I started growing dreads, cut them off when I went to the Air Force. I was so damn mad when I had to. And
not the locks, guys.
Man, I grew dreadlocks. And, a lot of people say that black people, we have a spiritual connection. We have a spiritual connection with our hair. And when I grew those dreadlocks out, I could literally feel the pro blackness growing out of my scalp. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then also growing out my dreads, it started to make me understand black women's issues a little bit more. Because when I started growing out my hair, started noticing people would just walk up and just grab my hair. Like when I grew my dreads out, people grab my hand. Wait, what are you doing? Don't touch me, dude. Get away from me. For old white women, and you know, they were treating me like a petting zoo. I'm like, wait, don't touch me. Don't touch me. Um, and it was that, and then also Christianity. I was eventually I learned that Jesus was a black man, and all the people in the Bible were black people. That is a book written by black people for black people. Once I learned that, and I learned that fairly early on. By the way, it just took a while to click. I learned that. I think I was 16 or 17. I just thought about it. If I think about the location, I was like, it doesn't make sense for Jesus to be a white man. It doesn't even make sense. And then, like you don't even need to look it up. You don't need to look it up. Just think logically. Like, it don't make sense for him to be a white man in that area. A lot of people don't know the Middle East. The Middle East is a part of the Middle East is in Africa. Egypt, the Middle East, man, that's in Africa. Yes. And a lot of people don't know. The Middle East that term wasn't even created until the 1800s. Before then, that was really just considered the same general area as Africa. Like the distance between Georgia and Florida, that's the same distance between Israel and Africa. The distance between Georgia and Florida, that's how far Israel and Africa are apart. It's not much distance at all. That was black people, then learning that the reason these places look white now, like you go to Israel, it's controlled by white people. The reason these places look white now is because they were colonized. The natives, especially Egypt,
yes, sir.
The natives were slaughtered. It was just learning history, and then
yes, sir.
Go. Your mic's acting up again. And also, learning about who that white man you're looking at when you look at the picture of Jesus. His name is Caesar Borgia. He's that white man with the long hair, that feminine looking white man. His name, he's the son of Pope Alexander VI. His name is Caesar Borgia, and he was homosexual, and he was in an incestuous relationship with his sister, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. That man you looking at when you go to these churches, that white man you're looking at was sleeping with his sister. So it was learning about my history, the truth behind Christianity. That also got me over the tipping point. And then, of course, last but not least, coons have to want to no longer be coons anymore. This is not like, of course, I started learning, and I've always been an information seeker. And that's really my thrill. The thrill I get from learning new information is what really woke me up. Once I learned the truth, I made the conscious decision. I in my head, I said, I want to be pro-black now. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be for my people. And around the time Trump got in office, that's around the same time. I would say 2 years into Trump's presidency, his first or his only term. That's when I was finally where I am today. And as I went pro-black, over time, I got more and more and more radical, because I'm listening to these pro-black people and the things they're saying. I'm like, I know these people you're talking about. It's not gonna work. Like this, voting is not gonna work. These white people, they're more dangerous than that. They control more than you think they do. It's not going to work. They're not going to give us what we want and what we need until we take it from them. We're not going to get it from them. They're not going to give it to us willingly, whether it's a left wing president, right wing president, it don't matter. They're not going to give it to us. I know these people like they are my blood relatives. You will not get equality from them unless you force it out of their hand.
I have been saying that for years. These white people ain't giving you nothing.
They're not going to give you anything. Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. They're not going to give you anything. Some of the most racist white people I knew growing up were the hardest Democrats. These feminists, I mean, these were some of the most racist white women I've ever met. And they be on these same white women, I'll see them on social media talking about black girl magic, And these same white women that's on social media doing that, all the things they were saying behind closed doors. Wait, hold on. That's a huge difference. These left wing white people are just as racist, not a little bit less, not a little bit more. They are just as racist as the right wing white people. They just practice their racism differently.
And I remember we touched on before we get out of the political zone about how they only allow certain kind of black women around.
Absolutely, absolutely. These
Please
white.
elaborate on that.
Please elaborate. Okay. If you notice the type of black women that feminists prop up, the white feminists. Now, there's exceptions. I'm not going to say it never happens. It might happen every blue moon. But if you look at the type of women that the white feminists prop up, it's a very masculine black woman. It's almost like they portray black women. These white feminists, they look at black women as circus freaks. Look at the black women they portray. They don't ever portray normal, feminine, natural black women. They never portray that type of woman, besides maybe one rare occasion here and there. If you look at the women they portray, there's something wrong with them. They got some they got a disgusting, huge fake butt that look like it's about to explode. They're 900 pounds. They're masculine, built, buff, like a linebacker or a lineman or something. They look like men. They're masculine black women. There's always something wrong with them. They're walking around with crazy psycho rainbow colors in their hair. And one thing that the white women really hate is attractive feminine black women, because it is a threat to them. An attractive feminine black woman is a threat to the white woman. They don't like that. They don't like that. That's why they portray the type of women that they do. If you see a black woman really, the only time you will see a feminine black woman on in the media, she's usually with a non-black man. They usually got her with a white man or a Hispanic man. They never show a feminine normal black woman with a masculine normal black man.
Okay. Now I've appreciated our conversation, and really, I only really have one more real question before we can really kind of wrap things up for the evening. We have all lived our lives. We've all traveled our paths. We've made decisions and done things along those paths. Is there anything you've done along your path that you wish you could take back?
Man, there's a lot of things I wish I could take back, but like go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say even maybe not take back, but is there anything that you look back on and you reflect and go, damn, that like I could have done that differently? And this is all in hindsight. Hindsight is always 2020. And we all know in that moment it may have seemed right. But now later down the line, being older and more mature than we were, there moments where you look back and you go, all right, that really wasn't cool?
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think I wouldn't take any of my cooning back, because I'm a rarity, and we do need someone like me who's willing to talk about these things openly.
I agree.
So I wouldn't be where I am today without having gone through what I went through. Now, one thing I would take back is going to the Air Force. Oh my God, I would take that back all the way. Jesus Christ, I wish I'd never gone. Man, that was torture, man. I don't know if you've ever been pepper sprayed, man, but that makes you wish death.
I have been pepper sprayed. It is not fun.
Yeah, man. And then I don't know what kind of pepper spray you were using, but when you go to the military, They use the purest pepper spray you can get. I mean,
Uh,
top of the top pepper spray. They
I want
can't
hit
get
one of those.
no, man. You can't get no hotter than this, man. It literally feels like you rubbed chili powder in your eye, like you just took a glob of chili powder and just, man, it's crazy. It's man, my eyes are watering just thinking about it, man.
Mine too. Shit.
Man, that was very painful. Plus all the racism I went through, like there were a lot of racist
Fuck that.
sergeant
Fuck
that I
all that
couldn't.
racism. That shit. That pepper's pretty bad enough. Fuck the racism.
Oh yeah, man.
That shit
So
crazy.
yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, that shouldn't have happened, but I'm glad they did because I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have now.
And that's all part of our story. It's where we are. You're still a
Yeah.
very young man,
Yeah.
23.
Oh yeah. 23. Oh yeah.
You're still a very young man. You still have so much ahead of you. You still have so much time ahead of you. You have a lot of a story to live out. You have one hell of a story already in your 23 years. I cannot wait to see how things turn out for you. I'm looking forward to seeing how things play out going forward. And man, like I don't see how we don't continue to stay in contact.
Absolutely.
I don't see it. I don't see how we don't, man. I gotta see how this plays out. Plus, I do genuinely enjoy the fact watching those around me learn and grow. But
Yeah.
whether we're learning and growing in the same space is not necessarily always important. Just continuing to grow and learn is all that matters to me.
Yeah.
So, Isaiah, it's been amazing, bro. Thank you for coming and blessing our
No
show.
problem. And
Yeah,
before we wrap up, is there a time limit we're under?
nah, we ain't
Okay.
got no time limit.
Okay. So there's a closing statement. It's a question that I'm going to ask for you, and it's how should parents prevent their children from being coons?
Now, see, I
Because
wasn't even gonna ask that because I mean, I just felt like I didn't have to. But by all means, go ahead.
yeah, I
Go
wasn't
off,
saying that
King.
to
Go
disrespect
off.
you in any way, by the
Oh
way.
yeah, no. I got you.
Yeah.
Go off, King.
So as a coon, I knew everything it took to cultivate a coon. Black people, stop letting your children be children. That no, that's not an option. This is how these people they look at your children like, oh, well, when they see that you're not teaching your child the way you should, they look at that like, okay, yeah, we got one now. We got one. You have to teach your children about black love and black appreciation, how to love themselves, love their hair, love their eyes, love their skin. You have to teach your children these things. You have to indoctrinate your children. Like this let children be children thing, it's not going to work. It's playing into the hands of the enemy. Your child is going to be indoctrinated one way or another. Now, they can be indoctrinated by you, or they can get indoctrinated by the white teachers at their school and the white kids that they're hanging around. But one way or another, your child is going to be indoctrinated. So you need to do the indoctrination. Um, Also, control what your children are watching. You can't just, at 14, the kind of things I was watching, my mother should have just took my phone. Like, no, you're not going to be sitting in your room listening to this man talk the way he does about black people. That's not something that a child should even have the freedom to do. You need to control what your child is exposed to, and you need to indoctrinate your children. Do not let your children be children. We are the only group that does that, and it's not working. And also, you have to teach your children how to recognize racism. Like there was a lot of things I was doing as a child and as a teenager that I didn't even consider as racism. Being called nigger by my friends, I didn't even consider that racism at the time. At the time, I just considered, oh yeah, we just being fun and games. I'm not one of those race baiters. You got to teach your children what is and isn't racism, or white people will do it for you. White people are bad at deciding what is and isn't racist. So you have to teach your children what to look for, what to avoid, and your children have to be able to come talk to you. Also, what's creating a lot of coonism is the fatherlessness. Me not knowing my biological father contributed a lot. I feel like I might not have, and it's also who you procreate with. My father, even though I don't know him, I know that he was not an honorable man. He was a bad person. So I might have ended up following his footsteps. And you know, I don't remember exactly what he got arrested for, but I think he was around the time I was born. He was arrested. I think he robbed an old lady at gunpoint or something. I don't remember. Um, yeah, he's not an honorable man. So you have to uh, keep fathers in these homes because they need that masculine black energy in their life. And a lot of black children, they're getting the masculine energy from the women in their family, and it's not working. And this right here, most important part. This is the most important part. You have to put your black children in stable environments. Your children should not be listening to you scream, cuss, holler, fight. That should not be happening. Your children should be in a peaceful environment. They should know what a healthy black relationship looks like. Not necessarily a black relationship between an intimate relationship between a man or a woman, but a healthy relationship between a black man and his cousin, or a black woman and her sister. Like your children have to see positivity in the family. If they're seeing negativity in the family, they might just oh well, that's just black people. That's just how black people act. So that's the most important part. Your children need to come up in stable environments.
Agreed. I agree with that. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Is there anything else you got to get off your chest,
No, sir. I
This
heard
has
you
been
wanted to let people ask questions or something. So
we've been yeah, we had a couple people come on, and I don't know if you saw what people were saying during the show.
yeah, I did.
But people were definitely paying attention, and they were they were tuning. This is the co-host. He was definitely tuning in. People were, the ancestors got you together, referring to something
Yeah,
spiritual. Like
yeah.
people were people were they were active. Um, so we had folks here listening, and I know that we had more people here listening throughout the show and kind of just paying attention. I've had people hit my phone as we've been going through, and the reaction has pretty much been the same across the board. It's literally been hearing it has been almost I don't. It was like the first time I spoke to you. It was like I don't even know what like I'm just listening.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm listening, and because you are so honest about it, there's not much to pry about. I don't have to. I don't have to pry. I don't have to ask a million questions because I don't have to pry. You
Now,
know what I
one
mean?
thing I would like to add is when I was talking about the coonism, um, understand there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. They're everywhere, 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 everywhere. The place I was at. There's a lot of black people there or close to there. And coons flock with other coons. So I was hanging out when I started getting up. I started, congregating with other black people who were in a similar mindset as me. We'd be black coons sitting around talking shit about black people, just like I'd be around a bunch of conservative and liberal, both sides. Be a bunch around a bunch of racist white people. Be the same thing. Now, understand that sexual thing I was talking about, that slave play and that slavery fetish, that is not uncommon. This is going to be crazy to hear, but there are a lot of black people who are into that on the down low. And I can guarantee you, every person in this room listening knows a black person that does it on the down low. They might know multiple. This is not abnormal. That is a very normal thing. There are a lot of black people who are into this slave play. It is very prevalent. So that's what a lot of people got to understand.
I believe it. I believe it. You're getting words of encouragement. I said from the crowd. I don't know if you see
I'm
it.
reading everything. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for the words of
So,
encouragement.
I think that says a lot. I think that this says a lot about not just our listeners, but just how people react to a genuine, regardless of what it's about. Like if someone is being genuine themselves, you can't do anything but accept their story and just hear it.
Yes, sir.
Your story is incredible, bro. It really is. It really is. By all means, feel free if you ever need to reach out and you got something on your heart. You have a open door here on our show. If you ever need to come on and get something off your chest, or you ever want to just stop by and just kick it on one of the shorter versions. We have shorter versions of the show that we air on a different platform.
Okay.
If you ever want to come on and just hop on for one of the short shows and just shoot the shit just because you bored or something, you have an open door here, bro. We appreciate
yes, sir.
you.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, we look forward to you growing and being great, bro. All right.
Yes,
Go
sir.
enjoy your night. I hope you're going to get something to eat because it's. Did you eat before this?
Absolutely.
You are better than me. I am going to get dinner, and I'm going to watch the season finale of Hawkeye.
Oh, man.
Did you see it already? Did you watch it?
No, man. I'm still in the anime more than anything. That never changed.
What anime you watch? Before we get out of here, what anime you watching? What are you watching now?
Right now, I just finished one, so I wouldn't say I'm really watching one. It was called Arcane. It's on Netflix.
Yes, I didn't watch it yet, but I'm going to.
Fantastic, man. There's Netflix. They've released a lot of bad animes, and this was one of the good ones.
Pusha did the soundtrack for that shit. Did you know that?
Who?
Pusha T.
Pusha T. Oh man, that was a fantastic soundtrack too.
He did most of the soundtrack on there. So shout out to Push, man.
Yeah, and there's actually an anime where Samuel Jackson voices the protagonist, Afro Samurai. You heard of that?
Yes, of course.
I believe it's Samuel Jackson. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
that's a very good anime there.
I've watched Castlevania on.
That's Netflix. A fantastic
incredible.
Anime.
Incredible.
Oh yeah.
Incredible. All right, bro. We're gonna get up out of here. Thank you for everybody that came in. Pod folk, we appreciate you. My brother and
wonderful night,
co-host Jay. We love you. Thank you for tuning in. We're sorry we couldn't have you on here tonight, but Jay, he tuned in. He know he's sending love from wherever he is to everybody who's locked in. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Merry Christmas. Shit, this is
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, y'all. We out of here.
Yes, sir.